All right, it's time for everyone's favorite part of the show. It's time to see who George is going to pick this weekend. Starting District 2-5A with that Odessa and Monterey matchup out at Lowry Field on Thursday night, George. Is Monterey going to have enough to come back and play against these Broncos, or Odessa's the team rolling right now?
Well, yeah, that is the big question, whether Monterey is going to have enough to keep up with Odessa. I mean, you talk about all the weapons Odessa has, from quarterback Derek Teagarden, the Marquez kids, Tyler McQueen at running back or at receiver, and then they found another running back this week who rushed for 100 yards. So they just kind of keep adding weapons. And Monterey is still, they're still a work in progress. 6 games into the season, I just don't think they're going to have enough offensively to keep up with Odessa. I look for Odessa probably at least 2 touchdowns, maybe more. I'd be surprised if it's not at least 2 touchdowns. And who knows? Monterey may come out and play a great game and find the answer defensively. But I think they're going to have to find a lot of answers defensively and offensively in this one. I like the Broncos.
All right, staying in District 2-5A, Coronado hitting the road, heading over to Amarillo to take on Tascosa. And I talked to Coach Butch Henderson after the game last week, and he said, we just need to find a way to keep clicking on all 3 sides all at once, something they've struggled to find this year. Rick Henderson has looked really good at times, but how are they going to handle this Tascosa team that's kind of a surprise team this season? Well,
I think the key is, and I mentioned earlier, the way that they found some offensive balance with the running game, with Cameron Owens and Sterling Jones have been running the football exceptionally well. And I think that's going to be the key, that they've not only brought balance offensively, they've taken some of the pressure off of Rick Henderson, so he's not having to throw the ball all the time, and they're getting some yards that way. And I think that's going to take some pressure off of the Coronado defense and allow them to play a little ball control. I mean, that was the problem. If Lubbock High could have played some ball control, they could have had a very different result against Tascosa the other night. So I look for Coronado to kind of keep doing what they're doing defense or offensively, running the ball, getting some balance. And I think they'll bounce back defensively. Their backs against the wall. This is a very winnable game for Coronado. I think they go up to Amarillo on Thursday night. I think Coronado gets the win. I like the Mustangs in this one.
All right. Well, Lubbock High taking on Permian in our next game, and of course, this is not, this isn't the regular Gary Gaines Permian team that we thought we might see, or the Permian team we saw last year. This team, for lack of a better word, looks human this season, and they have had struggles against some of the other teams. They had to hold on for that big win against Lee last weekend. How does, having Armendariz back is obviously going to help the Westerners, but how can they handle this Panthers team?
Well, this is always kind of a motivating game, especially for Mike Speck at Lubbock High, coming from Odessa Permian, having served on the staff there, and then going up against, playing that historical, Permian Mystique type deal. You mentioned Permian looking human. Well, they came back and had a pretty good game in a rivalry game against Midland Lee last week. So the deal is, can they match that from this week to next week when they're not going to have that emotional state of playing a rival? Unfortunately, I think, Lubbock High is just has too many injuries and they don't have enough depth. And Odessa Permian, I think, is just going to have too many weapons. I think this will be a close game early, but I think Permian pulls away late. I like Permian go with the Panthers in this one.
All right, Friendship taking on Hereford in our next game, and you sure you're going to pick the Tigers in this one?
Well, this is a big game, and and an interesting dynamic. As well as I do, this is a big rivalry game. Friendship and Hereford have had some classic battles over the years, and now both these teams are going in with a little extra motivation from the fact that both of them are 0-1 in district. Hereford lost to Abilene Cooper, so the loser here starts the district at 0-2, and that's going to be a very, very tough hill to climb to win a district championship and much less even make the playoffs. So I think the Tigers, and that's one of the things I said, when they come off a loss, they always come back pretty focused. I think defensively they'll have enough to stop Hereford. I think offensively they'll be able to play a little ball control as well. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's probably going to be a low-scoring game, probably maybe a 17-14 game. But I think the Tigers will go on the road, and I think they'll get the win in this one.
All right, going into District 1-3A now. Levelland taking on Estacado. And, okay, I'm thinking back here. Off week. So are the Matadors back on this week?
Well, they might be. Unfortunately, for Levelland, they may just be the tonic that helps Estacado cure some of their ills. Levelland is in a first-year coach, and they're still struggling to kind of find what they want to do, and they've had some hard times as well. And Estacado, I think, will come out of this game, with a win. I think they'll have the right remedy between running the ball and passing the ball. I think, talent-wise, I think Estacado is just a step above Levelland right now. Go with the Matadors in this one to get the home win and get back on the winning track in district play.
All right, staying in 1-3A, Cooper taking on Perryton, traveling to Perryton for this game. You know, obviously you mentioned how impressed you've been with Perryton so far. They got the win over Estacado last week. They're just going to be too much for Cooper this week?
I think so, probably. I mean, you look at last week's game with Cooper and Dalhart. It was a close game for about 2.5, 3 quarters, and then Dalhart just kind of pulled away. You know, Cooper, you know, is still kind of getting some kids back. They got Richardson back this last week. They got DJ Ware, their running back this last week. So they're probably about as healthy as they're going to get at this point. Now, maybe another week they can get a little healthier. They can get a little, you know, kids back in rhythm. But, you know, going to Perryton, as Estacado, that was a tough place to play last week. You're going to have to, you know, get some points and capitalize on turnovers, and then you're going to have to play some defense. I think Cooper may be a week away from being where they need to be to compete in this district. So I think Perryton, you know, being at home, I think the Rangers get the win in this one.
All right, going into District 3-2A now. Littlefield traveling to Idalou, and I saw this one last year. It was a battle to the finish with Reagan and Cook, and you had the Barrios at Littlefield. Obviously, they have been just rolling lately as far as putting up the points on the board as Littlefield, but they haven't seen that defense like Idalou. But can Idalou find enough offense to maybe challenge this Littlefield team?
I don't think so. I think, you know, Idalou. I think what we're seeing. You know, Bill Parcells always said, you know, you are what you are. You are what your record says, and you are what your stats say. And Idalou is just having struggles right now, moving the football offensively. And I think Littlefield is going to be able to play good enough defense. And I think they're going to score enough points. I don't think they'll score, you know, 40, 50 like they have the last couple of weeks. But I think they'll score in, you know, maybe in the mid-20s to 30s. And Idalou just simply doesn't have enough offense right now unless they come up with something, you know, in the scheme this week, you know, to match with Littlefield. I think Littlefield. I predicted them as the district champion. I think this game kind of reasserts that prediction. I like Littlefield in this one.
All right, Ropes taking on Meadow in our last game, and who do you like in this one?
Well, I mean, this is a big game. You know, Ropes and Meadow are district rivals. They have been for the last few years, and this is always a heated game. You know, Ropes has plenty of offense to score on Meadow. You know, but Meadow's going to sit there and play ball control with Rico Rocha and run the ball very well. Although they've found a little balance the last few weeks, not balance throwing the ball, but balance, you know, in getting some other kids involved in the game and getting some yards there. So, you know, this one, you know, if you like 6-man games, you know, this one's not going to be 45, but you might want to get there early because this one might be over quick with the way these two teams play offensively. But I like Meadow. I think you're probably looking at maybe a 10-point game, but go with the Broncos in this one.
All right, so Georgia's picks for this week: Odessa over Monterey, Coronado over Tascosa, Permian over Lubbock High, Friendship over Hereford, Estacado over Levelland, Perryton over Cooper, Littlefield over Idalou, and Meadow over Ropes. Well, that's going to do it for this week for us here on Football Fever. As always, we'd like to thank everyone here at LISD TV. You can also catch up with all your games by catching Friday Night Football and logging on to www.lisd.tv for all your replay times. For George Watson, I'm Travis Cram. We'll catch you next week right here on The Fever.